It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa. Thank you so much for joining us at the table again. We have a great show for you today. We've got the very talented, the hilarious comedian and television star Billy Gardell. And we're going to grab a quick bite with the very funny, another great actor and great comedian, my good friend Rory Scovel. More on those two in a second. We would like to thank two companies sponsoring the show today. Our good friends at Greensmith Farms CBD. Greensmith Farms makes all-natural, full-spectrum craft CBD tinctures and gummies. They sent them to me. I took them, and I felt wonderful. And right now, you can get 20% off your order with the code PAPA, P-A-P-A, at checkout. Go to greensmithfarmshemp.com. That's greensmithfarmshemp.com and enter the code PAPA, P-A-P-A, at checkout for 20% off your order. We'll talk more about them a little later in the show. We'd also like to thank the good people at Wild Alaskan Company. Not Wild Alaska, Wild Alaskan Company. You're used to having a lot of choices when it comes to what you eat, but it matters where your food comes from. I'm very excited about this sponsor. You can get your nutrition from nature. The Wild Alaskan Company sources wild-caught seafood from Alaska and the Pacific Northwest. And they send it to you, and you have a freezer full of amazing salmon, cod, fish ready to go. You just open it up, you bake it, you do the things, and it's just wonderful, beautiful, healthy way to eat. Right now, you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/papa, P-A-P-A. That's wildalaskancompany.com/papa, P-A-P-A, for $15 off your first box. We'll talk more about these folks a little later in the show as well. I'm telling you, it is now something that I have in my freezer all the time, a go-to meal. It is a wonderful, wonderful company, and I'm so happy to have them on board and part of Breaking Bread. Now, last week we were talking about hot dogs. Because it is summertime, we are quickly approaching the 4th of July. There is a lot of very important issues that we have to deal with. What kind of drinks are you going to have on hand that you don't normally drink than when you're sitting outside? What kind of things are you going to be grilling up? How fancy are you going to get? How are you going to master grilled corn? How are you going to master grilled vegetables? How are you going to do your steaks? How are you going to do all of this stuff? All very complicated. What about the sides? The macaroni salad. How are you going to do that and make it something better than what you grew up with? Are you going to be able to develop a potato salad that won't turn everybody off? There's a lot of things to be considered and a lot of joyful things. Seafood, all the rest of it. It's great. And we will talk all about that stuff. But we're starting at the beginning. We're starting with the simple things. And in my book, when I just picture a 4th of July barbecue, there's got to be some hot dogs around. There's got to be some hot dogs waiting for me. Because look, if you are just going through your everyday life and you're just pounding hot dogs, people are going to judge you. And thank God. Thank God they're judging you, because you really shouldn't be eating hot dogs every day. I would. Look, someone called me a food sociopath, in that I act on limits of what I should be eating based on what I think is appropriate. Like, I could eat hot dogs probably 20 a day, no problem, in or out of a ballpark. I could just keep eating hot dogs. I just love them so much. But the rest of society your family, your friends, your family, they look at you and they say, maybe you shouldn't do that. Ew, what are you doing? Why is there mustard on your chin again? And thank you for all of that pressure. Because I really you shouldn't be eating them all the time. You shouldn't be, all the joys in life, donuts, bagels, bacon, all great things. Moderation. Okay. So last week I cranked open a pack of Nathan's hot dogs. Loved it. Oh, always a big fan of Nathan's, but a little, as I described it, little asparagus spears. It was the size of asparagus spears. Dodger dogs are similar. If you go to get a Dodger dog, they're well-known hot dog. I'm going to reserve comment on those for a minute. But this was about what I have in my house was Nathan's and Hebrew National. Hebrew National, an all beef hot dog. Nathan's classic Coney Island hot dog. Love them both. And I'm like, I've got money, meaning $10. I can get both packs and put them and bring them both home and finally settle this little debate that's been in my head for my whole life. Which is better? Which one is better? And thank you for sending me some videos. A couple people sent me videos of different methods of baking the hot dogs. One actually had Suzanne Summers, and they were doing this weird thing where they're actually frying the buns, pushing the buns down with the spatula, like flattening them, frying on both sides, and then putting the dog split butterfly style in between. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot of great stuff out there, and thank you for sending them along. So I broke out the Hebrew National. A bigger dog, a tasty dog for sure. There's not many hot dogs that I meet that I don't like. They are solid, but I have to say that snappy pork thing that a Nathan's gives you, even though it was an asparagus spear, and I know I can go, because I Googled it, I can get bigger dogs. It was the pack that I bought. But just on flavor, there is something special to the Nathan's dog. Hebrew National's still good and a good, different experience. The same way, like if you were to get some bratwurst or some knockwurst or big sausage and make a sandwich out of that, it's its own thing. It's kind of like its own thing. Hebrew National, it's a little bit its own thing. So I love you. I will continue to eat you. I've got 8 more in the pack to go. Or actually 7. So I'm going to eat them happily. But head to head, I'm giving it to Nathan's for now. Because I still have more money. I have another $10. So why not go and get Sabrettes? Why not keep this hot dog thing going under the guise of research for the podcast? If you have your favorite, let me know as well. Tell me what your favorite is. Someone sent me a name, and I'm sorry I'm spacing on it right now. I didn't never even heard of them before. Began with an S. I'm not exactly sure. So more on the hot dog controversy next week. Let's get to the podcast now. We've got Billy Gardell starting off. Billy Gardell is a bigger-than-life comedic presence. He has always been a very funny stand-up comedian, and you know him from his big turn, his big break on Mike and Molly. And then from Mike and Molly, after that show ended, you think, oh, now he'll go back and do stand-up or whatever. No, he gets tapped by Chuck Lorre to do another sitcom, Bob Hart's Abishola, which is very funny, another heartfelt program, and that is what Billy Gardell has. He has a big heart. Loves funny. He can hammer. He can go into a club or a theater and just destroy in a heavy comedic way, but there is a sweetness and there is a kindness that comes from him having a really big heart. And we're lucky enough to be in the same circles because our kids go to school at the same spot, and we were able to run into each other. And this is a great conversation that I have with Billy, because you'll see his big heart, you'll see his comedy lineage for sure, but also it was a great chance for us both to talk about raising children and what that means to both of us. And he's just a great guy to have in my life. Look, I love comedians, and when you have someone that's also going through the same rhythms of life with a family, that is a cool thing. And also, little known fact, is way into trains. He's like a serious, The Village, the whole thing. And I would literally call him, starting maybe 5 years ago at Christmas time, when I was having train troubles, setting up my train under the tree, and he would help me out. So it's a great conversation. I think you're really going to like it. And then we'll grab a quick bite after that with Rory Scovel. So for now, enjoy Billy Gardell. Yeah, it's my nephew was telling me, was just going through all these discussions, and he said, well, I know all these things are changes for your generation. I said, well, it's not changes. It's just, it's funny to look at young people and realize that you don't understand yet that no one cares about you.
Yeah. And how do you convey that and keep their hope up?
Right, exactly.
That's the breadbasket. You know, you talk about throwing a pass where the breadbasket's like that. That's the pass. No one cares, but keep your chin up.
Yeah.
It's a hard window to hit with your kid.
Yeah, but it's really so important, because it's like the quicker you realize that, the more at peace you are. Like when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Going to like the beach or a pool, and get your bathing suit, like the first time you're in a bathing suit that summer, like, oh my God, the terror.
And I'm a fat kid, so
me too.
I had to have the t-shirt on, so that was twice as traumatic for me.
Traumatic, but then you become an adult and you realize everyone else is
shit.
worried about them in their bathing suit.
Exactly. Well, what I told Will was we balanced it like this. I said, your mother's going to tell you how the world should be.
Right.
And she's right. However, I'm going to tell you what's really out there. And if you can find somewhere in the middle of those two things, I think you can be calm and happy.
That's pretty brilliant.
So I tried that.
That's really smart.
Yeah, man.
That's really brilliant. My daughter, right now, she's going back for sophomore year. Mm-hmm. So it is a big change when they come back, because now they're people with their own habits. Yeah. And their room is different. They're like,
do you find that maybe there's a little more gratitude because they kind of realize when they get out there, because mine's going away this summer, so do they realize a little more like, wow, my parents did a lot for me when they come back? Is that kind of the reaction you've had, or hey, get back to serving me? Which one was it?
A little bit of who are you to tell me what to do anymore?
Yeah, and get me something to eat. and get me something to eat.
That's the key.
Yeah,
they're starving.
Yeah,
they eat such bad food when they're away. They're so hungry, and I would send pictures. I would send pictures of my bread to my daughter, just to make her want to come home.
Put the hook in the water. Absolutely. My buddy said that too. I said, we want to go up and visit my son at college. Every 6 or 8 weeks, just go up and have a dinner with him. And I said, but I don't want to. I've never gone to college. Like the closest I got, I drove by one once. But I didn't. But truth. But I didn't want to be that dad that's like, I don't want us to be Everybody Loves Raymond's parents. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I do want to be able to go visit him every few weeks and maybe take his roommates to dinner or whatever. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a college guy, and he's like, dude, he goes, they love when parents come.
Love it.
I go, why? He goes, because everyone's starving. Just like you said, they're like, everyone, they know if a parent comes, they're going to get a good meal.
Yes.
They may get to go to a show.
Right, exactly.
Groceries might land in the fridge, so that'll be kind of
take them shopping, leave them some cash.
Yeah, so that'll be cool.
It's funny. It's like I went and visited her, and it was like she walked me around. It was COVID, so like we couldn't really hang that long, but she like walked me around the campus, and this wasn't until spring. Like she went the whole time, and I couldn't even step on campus until spring.
Right.
And she's walking me around, and I'm like, oh, I was the kid in this scenario.
Now you're the
like
adult.
You take your parents and you just kind of walk them till they run out of gas.
Yeah.
And then like put them back in the car.
And now that was nice. It's hot. Yeah, no, I know. We're those people now. I'm going to go up and walk the campus with my son in a couple of weeks, and I'm excited. I think I'm more excited than he is, and he's pretty excited.
Really? Yeah.
The idea that my son gets to do something I didn't get to do.
Yeah.
Really appeals to me. That's kind of how I've driven my fatherhood. Like, I want him to have. I told him the other day, we were sitting and talking. I said, your job when you leave this house is to take all the good stuff I gave you and keep it, and take all the shitty stuff I gave you and throw it away. And the quicker you start that journey, the healthier you're going to be.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
If I gave you a bad one, get rid of it. You know?
Will he tell you what the bad ones were?
Yeah, we're pretty honest. Me and Will have a very cool relationship. You know? I'm very, very blessed that I've tried never to be a hypocrite with him. And I've tried never to shy away from the problems I had, like with alcohol. And I've just always been very open with him. And I think because of that, he's honest with me. He'll come to me with stuff that I don't think. Right. I don't know that that's a normal thing, but I'm very grateful for it. One of the things my wife actually taught me when he was like 3, you know, because you parent like you were parented. You know? And my father was a lot of what? Like, oh shit. So. What are you doing? Yeah, so she taught me, she kind of said, you know, if you blow up at him when he brings you trouble or brings you something he doesn't know about or he's scared about or he's awkward about, when he brings that to you and you blow up, or if he made a mistake and you blow up, he's never going to tell you anything again. Right. And so that day I switched it and I was like, you can tell me anything, I'm going to tell you the truth. Right. There are consequences to your actions, but I will shoot you as straight as I can shoot you. And luckily, he's been just no trouble. Like, it's so weird. We have weird talks. Like I really realize our age difference and where we grew up. Right. Like, you know, like I remember in high school, I was like, he was going to this park that he didn't know these kids, and I was like, well, put a little rock in your pocket just so you got it. If anybody starts any shit, you can whip it up. And my wife was walking behind me. She's like, what are you telling this child? He doesn't know people like you. He doesn't have friends like yours. The rock in his pocket. Yeah, and I was like, well, in case some trouble. And Will was like, Dad, why is trouble going to start? I go, well, I guess it's location, you know. So, but I hear those things out of my mouth.
It's so funny. I know. I had they were talking about smoking weed, and I was like, well, let me tell her like what I know about smoking weed, and I'm like, look, you know, you have to keep it in check. It's an okay thing to do, especially if you're not drinking.
I agree. I would prefer he smoked than drink.
Yeah. And I said, I'm like, so, you know, you don't want to smoke, like, you don't want to spend all your days smoking, and it should be a thing that you do. It shouldn't be the thing that you do. It should be the thing that consumes it.
It's a great way to say that.
Right. But then I go, I said, so, you know, like when it becomes like the only thing, and it's always about where am I getting it, who am I with, all my friends, and you're just doing it all the time. She looked at me like, how much weed were you smoking?
I burned off 8 or 9 years, honey, but that's not what's important here. No, I had the same talk with him. I was like, Friday night, Saturday night after your work's done, look at it like that. Right. Or Saturday afternoon at the beach with your friends. I'm fine with that. Right. And I would prefer that than the booze. I really would. Because
totally.
I just think, you know, look, I've never smoked weed and told a cop to go fuck himself.
Right.
Are you allowed to swear on your podcast?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Okay. But my point is that. I go, if you're going to do something, I think that's the one. But it's like you said, anything can go too far. Here's how I said it. I said, if at some point you're doing something and somebody who you really care about looks at you and goes, bro, you should slow down. Yeah. And you hear the words, I got it, come out of your mouth, that is the beginning of the end. Right. So just kind of look for that. That's the beginning of the end.
That's smart.
That's when you have to make a change.
Yeah, that's really smart. Right. I mean, because that's really the only, you know, you parent and you bring them through whatever they're going to do is fine. Yeah. Just don't get that problem. Just drugs, alcohol.
It's awful. Luckily he saw, you know, my alcohol got out of control, and then I've been sober 13 years, so he knows there's a way back if he does get in trouble with it. But I also told him, you got my blood, so it could, I don't know, you could have two and drink like your mother, or you could become a lunatic like I was, and you have to gauge that and be honest with yourself about it. That's
so 13 years ago, so your career was already taking off. Like
No, it was actually, I got sober, and 3 years later my career took off.
For real?
I would have done it so much earlier.
Really?
I knew. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'd come to at the end there, it was really bad. Me and my wife we were on real shaky ground.
Yeah.
And I had a 4-year-old at home. I was unemployable. I just couldn't get a gig.
Yeah.
And we were in big debt, and we were leaving LA, and
Right.
my wife, God bless her, was strong enough to say, get sober, I'm leaving. And I was smart enough that was enough for me. Like for
Right.
everybody, it's a different thing. Like some people have to lose everything.
Yeah.
Some people have to have the threat of losing everything.
Yeah.
Some people, it's a different level. One isn't better than the other.
Sure.
But my pain level, thinking about those two not being in my life,
Oh God, yeah.
that's what made me at least go attempt to get sober, and luckily it took.
Luckily, I mean, for me, that's always the puzzle, and that not the puzzle, but it was a wake up call of how deep the addiction can be. When I saw people, friends, who looking at their kids, and that wasn't enough.
That's how,
you know what I mean? Like that was scary.
My moment of clarity was one night where she was like, if you don't drink, I'm taking him and I'm leaving.
Uh-huh.
And then I went that night to a bar because I was going to do some writing. 'Cause that's where you get all your writing done, at the bar at 10 o'clock. And I sat there, and after a while I ordered a tumbler of Jameson, and I looked at it, and I thought to myself, if I drink this, she's leaving. And I couldn't stop myself.
Oh.
And that was the first time I really realized, thank God it sank in. Like, I can't do this myself. I have to go get some help to be able to deal with this. Because if I'm willing to drink and lose them. Because you hear people say, I can't believe that's not enough with a kid. When it gets you, it gets you.
It does.
And when it holds you, there's nothing that can stop that dragon until you deal with some people who have been through it. And that's usually the fellowship of that really helps you walk through this thing. And then there's other ways that you learn to process, It all comes down to fear or anger, or not being part of, or not feeling good enough, or less. Like it's all about whatever you're medicating that hurt earlier.
Right.
And so you have to look at those things. And so you have to be really, really honest. But once you get to that, you start to realize that's not being weak. That's actually being strong. At least that's been my experience.
Right. Yeah. Were you funny in high school?
Yeah, I was all right. I was kind of like my stand-up now. I was all right. You know what I mean? I've always been like a molecule off of being a great stand-up.
Hold on a second. That's the truth. I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Yes, I am.
No.
You are always super complimentary, and always. I know. But I'm going to say this because it's a podcast.
Because you have to, and I'm on here.
No, because we have microphones, and I can't say it when we're just hanging out at school.
All right.
You always make me laugh. You've always made me laugh. You are super funny. You're very modest.
I wasn't smart enough, though. You're my kind of humor. You have a very strong stage presence, and my stage presence is better than my material.
And
always has been.
And the way to, and that you translated it to acting and being able to be funny on television.
That was that was a gift.
In my in my eyes, you're a gem.
You're
a gem.
Very, very kind man to say that, and I take that as a high compliment from you. But I always felt about my stand-up that it wasn't ever as good as I wanted it to be. And I know we all go through that, but
sure.
I think there's a give and take with road comics and city comics. Like a city comic, I don't know, man, they just evolve smarter. I don't know why that is, like a New York comic or a Chicago comic or a San Francisco comic. And even an LA comic, because comedy isn't, to me, out here as dominant as it is in those other cities.
No.
But I always feel like a city comic, there's just, there's more enlightenment. And I think we're all products of our environment. And I was just a road animal. I was always driving on. Now there's a give to that, too.
Sure.
Because if you can be a road comic and be funny in Florida and Alabama and New York and Philadelphia and Illinois and Phoenix, I think that translates for you on television.
Right.
I think whatever that vibration you develop translates onto TV, so you're kind of universally able to connect.
Totally.
But I think the city comics just have there's a smarter level of the game.
Well,
and I don't know. I think it maybe because the audiences perhaps are a little harder, a little harder to get, and so you have to work a little harder for that. So I think when they pop, they can go to Kansas City, and you're going to get all the kind of scholarly people, you know what I mean?
Their audience.
Whereas I was doing like, I was doing like honky tonks.
Yeah, like survival.
I followed a bull riding contest, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But there was a gift in that made me kind of an everyman.
Right.
But I always admired the comics that really honed it in a city, like 5 nights a week. Like I was up in New York for a couple years, in like 92 and 93, and New York just beat my ass.
Oh yeah.
And in the best way.
Right.
I mean, it taught me just such like I had done well in Florida at these, little one-nighters and resort gigs and beach gigs and honky, and I thought, well, I'm a great comic.
I got it.
And then I went to New York, and I was informed, you are not a great comic. But it also gave me this perspective of, man, you have to keep evolving. And I think my views were of a smaller mind, being on the road all the time. It was a little too, I think it was a little too crowd pleasy for me.
Well, I
don't ever want to be the guy that walks people. That's just not my deal.
No.
But I also wanted to say some things that I don't know that I developed the skill to say them. And
well,
so
it's hard in those
California's
places.
been good for me that way, to kind of open up a little bit.
It's just about survival. We're all funny people. Yeah, we're all funny people.
Yeah.
And if you're able to survive in this, but then it becomes, well, what do you have to do to survive every night? And if you're on the road, you've got a hammer. You got to keep their attention. They're scattery. It's like, and it is more universal.
Yep.
And then the city, you have to survive a different way.
Yeah.
If you go up there and hammer, and then those kids, they're going to college or whatever, they were all like kind of looking at you like with a different way. So you adapt different moves to survive in that environment.
I just think there's a sharper mastery of the language, and I think just by being in a big city, your mind is more open. But my mind eventually opened, but I got there late. I wish I would have caught some enlightenment a little bit earlier.
Right.
I think that actually coincided with my sobriety too. I had a bit of an awakening. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a difference. Like if you go and you hone those things in a city, and then before people know who you are, and you go bring that to Kansas City or whatever, they look at you a little bit like, who do you think you are?
That's like the beating I got in New York. Exactly. Because now all of a sudden you're arrogant. You have to learn to communicate in a different way. Yeah. It's fun to watch that and who comes from what.
Yeah.
I love watching stand-up. I'm still a fan of stand-up. Like I told you when I saw you at the music room at the school, and I came over to your special was great. Me and Will watched it.
Right.
I like watching. I like to see what Burr's gonna do. Like I could never go that far out on the edge.
Right.
I love Bert Kreischer's crazy fun heart. Like it's always about like what are we doing to have fun? Like to me comedy. I love Steve Byrne. I think he's one of the most prolific guys out there. Nick Griffin.
Yeah.
But what I love is everybody's a different. Like I always looked at comedy when I was starting out 2 ways. One was we weren't really carrying a message back in the late 80s. We were just looking to not have a straight job.
Right.
That was the whole thing. Like, how do we do this and not work in a cubicle? And then the other side of it was it always seems like jazz to me, man. It just seems like everybody tunes their horn a different way. And that's because we're all kind of talking about the same shit.
Yeah.
But it's how you go at it.
Right.
And so to me, that really, it just seemed like jazz to me. And I like that fun aspect of it. I still like watching it a lot.
Yeah, I know. There is that thing when you're kind of, before you've had success, where you're looking at everybody and it's you almost don't have the room to appreciate everybody because you're so hungry and trying to survive.
You're just trying to. Well, I think the best thing you can do is just work on you. Though.
Yeah. Well,
if you become one of the cats, it's like fuck that guy. And why did that guy get? That has nothing to do with you're done. You're going to stop right there. But I like watching still because. We're all talking about relationships, drugs, politics, the airport. Like, we're all talking about the same shit, but when you hear a guy playing different notes, you're like, whoa, how's he going to... I just saw this guy, Nate Bargatze.
Yeah,
how you say it?
Yeah, Bargatze.
Incredible breath of fresh air, really funny, really smart at it. But so I like when I see that. I personally have pulled back from stand-up. I pulled back. For a while there, I thought I was going to be done. I really came to a place where I thought I was going to be. This has happened to me twice. Once was in 2007, where I was just burned out. And I was just like, thought there was no hope. I was also on the brink of getting sober and all this. So
right.
it was just,
that was all around the same time.
I got put on a tour, right when I got sober, on the Jameson whiskey tour. And I was not sober the first part of that tour. And it ended up becoming this rock and roll thing.
Yeah,
It was super
I remember
fun.
that tour.
But the very beginning was Steve Byrne, Danny Bevins, and Nick Griffin. And those guys really re-inspired me.
Oh.
And they kind of made me have fun at it again.
Right.
And then they were so goddamn good in front of me. Like, I was going up at the check spot, terrified. I'm like, shit, I gotta. But then...
I remember that tour.
Recently, I think the sitcoms have softened me a little too much.
Well, I mean,
because it's so hard to want to get on a plane when people are coming like, do you want some avocado toast and some chai tea? You're brilliant. I'm like, it's a little hard to go to the airport, But I think there may be one more hour in me somewhere, because what's funny is when I stopped thinking about it, premises started coming. When you sit down and try to write, at least when I sit down and try to write, nothing.
Yeah.
But when I let go, then the ideas come. And as long as I have a notebook, we're okay. But I think there might be another hour in me, but my feeling on it now is I'm just not doing it right now. But I'm not ruling out ever doing it again.
No,
and I kind of came to peace with that, which is nice.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very smart, because I've seen it before where you're a really good comic, you're funny, but now you get these really great gigs, and those gigs are hard. A lot of hours. I mean, to be able to. But they're super fun too. No, they are, but it does. But to do stand up is such a beast. To do both at the same time is
you have to constantly be doing it. There's some guys that can do it, and I admire guys that are just on it every night, and I lost whatever that was.
Yeah.
But I didn't lose it in a bad way.
But
It's just shifted. I will tell you this.
It's not like you're working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. You're on a network show.
The acting thing really gives me the same joy of that feeling of going to open mic night.
Hey.
Like, I love it that much.
Right.
I love it. I love rehearsal.
Yeah.
I love tapes. I love getting it and redoing it until we get it, and then finding it. Like, I love that stuff. That's what I really adore.
How green were you when Mike and Molly?
Jim Burrows, the legendary director from Cheers and
the best,
Friends and Taxi. And
yep.
Now I'm in that
Will and
fraternity
Grace
with him.
And oh my God,
he did our first 2 years, and I would bet you the first 3 to 6 episodes he had to turn me towards the cameras. That's how green I was. Like, Billy, but he was so sweet with me. He really put his arm around me.
Yeah. He's amazing.
And Chuck was great that way too. Chuck Lorre, I'm dropping all these names on the floor.
No, these are huge. Because this was the thing.
But they were so good to me at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they knew, like Reno, who played my partner, came out of the Fame School in New York.
Oh, wow.
Katie Mixon, who played my sister-in-law, came out of Carnegie Mellon.
Wow.
Melissa McCarthy had already been on the boards with the Gilmore Girls and studied at Illinois and was with the Groundlings. And, like, everybody had a pedigree.
Yeah.
Like, Niambi he was studied Shakespeare, and in New York at the festivals. And Swoozie Kurtz, Broadway Tony winner, Rondi Reed, Steppenwolf, and Lou Mastillo, Broadway.
Oh,
and then I came out of a comedy club kitchen. I'd like to be a part of the cast. And
were you intimidated?
Oh, God, it was terrifying. Yeah. But Burroughs was so good with me, and so was Chuck. Like, Chuck said, we're going to surround you with a great cast, and we're going to walk the water up the hill with you, so you don't have to do all of this yourself.
And they told you that in the beginning?
He was really good. He was incredible.
Thank God.
And then Burroughs really took me under his wing and just gave me great, he really gave me sage advice when I was starting about understanding the position you have. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're number one on the call sheet, if you're the center of the sitcom, and you're a comedian, you really have to understand that you're not ever going to be the funniest guy on the show. Mm-hmm. You have to be okay with that.
Right.
Your job, in fact, is to set everybody else up.
Right.
That's your real, like, you're going to get a few zingers, but the real hard laughs are going to come from your co-stars. And you have to understand that your job is to set them up. And there's an art to being a setup man.
Yeah.
You look at Johnny Carson. You look at those guys. Like, I studied Carson the first 2 years of Mike and Molly, him and Carol O'Connor, because I wanted, and Gleason, who's my idol.
Yeah.
But I wanted to learn how to react without even having to say anything. I wanted it all up in here because But that was the thing that Burroughs was saying. Like, if you can put your ego aside and not be the funniest guy in the room, you have to be the quarterback. You have to throw the ball to all these guys and then react off them, and that's going to make their performance better.
Right.
And if you can do that, we'll be here for a long time.
Wow.
He said, if you can't do that, they're going to pack all this shit up and we're leaving and somebody else is coming in here. And I thought that was a really cool way to say that.
Was Gleason that way?
Gleason, I think, was, from what I've read about him, he was not very disciplined. He had a natural talent. And I tell my son this all the time, natural talent, and it's one of my curses, if you have a little bit of natural talent, it really makes practice hard. But the guys that have natural, and the girls who have natural talent and practice become great. Right. And so that's what I've been trying to instill in him is take your practice. Take your practice, because that's really that's where you can go up a level. To break through.
So how were you studying Carson?
I just all videos. Yeah, I just watched all his interviews, and one of the great gifts he had was he just knew when to be quiet. Right. And that's a real gift. He just knew when to be quiet. Yeah. And to let the guest go until they either needed help or they hung themselves. And then he was still gracious about it. Yeah. Like he was never mean-spirited. I'm not a mean-spirited guy. Right. So I like, you know, my buddy used to always say the truth without love is abuse. So truth without love is abuse. You know, there's people that go, I'm just telling the truth. Right. I know it's really hurting you right now. He's up with the truth. Right. But I think the delivery mechanism, when there's a little love behind that, I think that's what forgives sarcasm. I think it's what forgives. It keeps us from taking ourselves too serious.
There's a great example of that I just watched the other night, and watching Charles Grodin with Johnny Carson.
One of the greatest.
The two of them together.
You don't care. You don't. Why are you asking?
You don't care. No,
what
do you care about?
I read your book. No, you didn't. You didn't read it. And then he would look at the other guest. What are you doing here? Oh, just fantastic.
Oh my God! And how much is this paperback? That's $9.95. Well, now you're talking.
But you knew underneath that that they didn't have any disdain for each other, and I think that's the magic combo.
Oh, when they're actually so mean to each other that it makes the other one laugh, and they can't stop.
And they couldn't hold it together.
So great. Yeah, just trying. Like he really nails Grodin, and Grodin's just like he doesn't want to laugh, but he can't. You can't stop his face from smiling.
Can't help it. Yeah, Grodin was a master of not breaking too. Yeah, just not break.
Oh my God, what a talent! So that's pretty amazing. I did a pilot with Burroughs, and it was like, oh man, you just saw like. This guy knows.
He just knows. He just described it greatly.
Yeah. He just knows.
Yeah.
God.
I've been on set with him in the diner doing a scene. And he'll come over and go, listen to me, honey, because everybody likes honey. He goes, honey, say the line, then drink the coffee. Don't drink the coffee, then say the line. Say the line, then drink the coffee. And you're like, now you're a stand-up comic. You're like, what is he talking? Why would that... And then you do it, and there's a huge laugh, and you're like, how did he know that? Yeah. How did he know exactly at that moment? Yeah. Like, he would say things to, like, Swoozy, like, don't stop, say the line, keep moving. Right. You know what I mean? He had a great...
Yeah, he's seen it so many times.
He's a guy that listens, too. He doesn't watch the monitor. Right. Once the cameras, he knows where you have the shots, like, he comes over and listens to the scene. He wants to hear it rhythmically, which is kind of really cool.
That's so cool. Mm-hmm. That you were able to have that at the beginning. And
it's like a college education.
And what a blessing, too, in a time when multicam comedies were disappearing. Yeah. That you've had your whole run is multicam. As a comedian, that is a huge blessing.
I swear to God, I am literally the fat kid, last one over the fence, is what it feels like. Right. And I have my whole career, I just have to thank Chuck Lorre. I mean, that guy.
He's the guy.
He was the guy that was convinced I could do it. Yeah. And to have somebody like that believe in you is a game changer.
The guy.
And then the fact that we're doing another one, because usually I was terrified of the second one. Because I'm like, usually if you have one that's semi-successful, the second one, you're dead in about 4 episodes. Right. Somehow we're going into season 3. Yeah. And I give that all to Chuck. He's just a genius. The guy, he can see down the line, man. He's got like a third eye. It's really, it's an amazing thing to watch.
It's insane. It really is insane.
It really is.
But what was really cool was, Mike and Molly was such its own thing. Yes. And then as soon as Bob Hart, Abishola, just the clip, just the very first trailer, whatever it was that I saw, and it's still you, but you knew immediately
It was different.
this is a different guy.
Right.
This is a different, and he's funny. He's going to be funny in a whole different way.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, right from that first image.
Thanks. That's awesome, because I was very worried about that. But like I said, again, that goes to Chuck and the writing cast. And we have, this show's so unique, and it says such a sweet thing, especially right now. I'm very proud of this show.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's about love wins. Like Mike and Molly was two people that thought they'd never fall in love, falling in love.
Right.
Bob Hartz-Abishola are two people from completely different cultures and backgrounds that say, let's try anyway.
Yeah.
And then to try to blend those families is gold, because it doesn't matter who you marry, you're getting the family.
The whole thing. The family, the history.
To have both of those things happen and both of them be based in love, I think is why people connect with that stuff.
Totally.
You know?
That's a great, that's
I've
well
become
put.
a very soft-hearted guy, man. I got to tell you, and you know, the kid going off to college, the pandemic, it's really made me think mortality. And I have not done the best with my health my whole life. I feel like I've been quitting shit my whole lifetime. I quit drugs, quitting booze, quitting smoking. Now I got to quit food.
They're big things.
And I'm getting ready to tackle that one. But I really feel like, you know, my dad used to say, after 50, you got less summers in front of you than behind you. So think about how you want to spend that time. And so I think the culmination of everything this year has made me really go, I just need to get healthy at all costs now. Like, that needs to be my number one priority, so that when this is done, and I'm, God willing, another 2-3 seasons, if we're lucky, the way television is now, that I'd like to be that couple that visits their son and then maybe travels with my wife, because my wife deserves this time. She has been married to a lunatic for a long time. She has put herself second for a long time. She is deserving of the best version of me I can give her, and I'd like to be that cool old couple traveling on a train.
That's the coolest.
That's my goal now. That's my end game. That's where I'm going. We're trying to anyway.
Well, two things. Sorry for ruining the beginning of that plan by baking you this bread.
I love you for that. Well, you've been teasing me with this bread since about 3 years ago. I'm finally seeing a loaf.
Billy, please start after this bread, because I'm so proud of this.
I will. I got a few food funerals, and then I'm going on lockdown. That's what I call them.
It is it's a country blend, which means it has all-purpose flour, but mostly wheat and rye.
Let me just cut that right in half and make a sandwich. I can make a sandwich out of anything, Papa.
That's hilarious.
Oh, did you fix your... I got to ask you, did you ever get your trains working?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't kidding. I said I'd come over. I'll fix them.
No,
I'm all about the Christmas train. I'm all
Oh, my God. Yeah. No, I was, just for our listeners, I got so into my train set.
I love it.
At Christmas. And I did it when I was a kid with this little ramshackle thing.
Right.
And now, like, I'm the dad, and I get to do it.
You get dad time.
You start to really get into it, and the village is so great. And I look forward to it. I have all the market. And the only thing that can happen now, and we've talked about this, is if I get like a garage separate from the house where I can like...
That's next. That'll be the next step. That'll be the next step. Wait till they're all gone, and then you can do that, and she'll be grateful you're away for a little bit. You know?
I know. It's so great. There's something so addicting about it. It's
you
such
have to
a
tell
nice
your
thing.
listeners the story, my favorite story.
Your favorite? Okay. About
when
you?
When you saw me on the airplane.
Okay.
Because this is my favorite. I keep this in my mind a lot. This is such a great thing you shared with me one day. We were over in the drama department waiting on a play.
Yeah, our kids were in
at
school.
the same school.
Yeah.
And you told me this to share that, because that's my favorite story.
Yeah, because
it really puts it in perspective.
Yeah, because I think that's when I realized we were at the same school, because I never really ran into you.
I know that guy.
And the story real quick is I was doing something. I had gotten something. I was on something where I was in first class. Right? And that only happens if someone's paying for it. So something was happening at the moment where I was in first class. And I'm sitting there. It's that early flight, heading East Coast someplace. And it's a little delayed, and it's like they're not closing the door yet, so they're obviously waiting for more people to board. But the stream of people is done. There's no more, like, it seems like it's done. Why aren't we closing and moving? I'm looking at my watch, and all of a sudden you come on the plane, sweaty, in a rush, Like you obviously just made this flight. And I don't remember in my head a brown paper bag. There was no luggage.
No.
Is this true? Because that's in my mind.
That is true.
You had a brown paper bag instead of luggage. Brown paper bag with shit coming out of it.
That's right.
And you come on and you're like, I'm like, hey Billy. And you're like, oh hey, I'm going to do a show. I'm like, all right, good to see you. And you go to the back of the plane, and I watched you go, and I'm like, wow, he doesn't look good. What's poor Billy?
But my favorite
I said,
line.
I wonder what's going to happen to him.
That's the greatest. You just said it so sweetly, like we're waiting to go into the theater to watch our kids in a plane. You're like, I just always thought, I wonder what's going to happen to that guy. It was like a very genuine, kind thing to say. Like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I wonder what's going to become of that man. So,
what's going to happen to that guy?
So it's a treat to have that happen and be sitting here with you doing this.
Yeah, but wait, but thank you. But before that, the end of the story is it literally was, I'm going to say 3 weeks to a month later.
Was it that soon after?
It was that soon after that they announced that you were going to be in this show, Mike and Molly.
Crazy.
And, or at least got the deal for it, whatever it was.
Crazy.
It was literally, I was watching a comic who was like, do I do this anymore?
Yeah, and that's right where I was.
Because this is beating my ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then within a month,
crazy.
You're on CBS in like one of the tentpole comedies.
Knock wood, man.
Oh, I love that story so much.
Well, it's a great perspective one for me too, because it brings me right back. And it is a good one to remember because it can turn at any minute.
Yeah.
I always tell any young comics or performers that I talk to, just stay at the table. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest casino on earth out there. Right. Stay at the table. Yeah. Let them take the car, shut the electricity off, keep the phone on, and stay in the casino.
Right.
That's the only thing I did right consistently was I didn't quit, and I wanted to a bunch of times.
Right.
But the only thing I did right was I didn't. Sometimes I was too broke to leave, and that was a blessing.
Too broke to leave,
I was
like
too
you
broke
had
to
to
leave
keep
Los
the gigs.
Angeles. Like I'd call my manager,
Right.
I'm leaving. He's like, you don't have any money. You're not going anywhere. So might as well go over to Monte Carlo and get your $7 lunch and shut up. So.
The other part of it is you talked a little bit about it before. Now, your son's going to go to school, and you're giving you perspective of like of your own mortality, and that is that's very prescient because when my daughter when they're good friends, but my daughter left a year ahead. So I did all this stuff you're coming up to last summer.
Yeah.
And
what do you got for me?
It's great. It's brutal. It's all of that.
That's a great way to say that.
Yeah. You cry a lot.
Yeah. I cry a lot anyway. Like even when the kids would be in a singing thing, they'd say to Will, they'd be like, is your dad crying again?
I know.
Like I'm just...
Yeah, you're a sensitive person anyway. You don't keep it in.
No.
But no, you cry a lot because they're leaving. But and then it gets great. Yeah. They come back for Thanksgiving, and you're like, oh, they're doing it. Like that's so great. Like that part was over. Like feeling that sadness, not completely, but I wasn't. It's all relative. Like
sure,
I literally had to pull the car over after dropping her off.
I don't doubt that.
Because I couldn't see.
No, I'm
crying so much.
I'm really scared about August.
Yeah,
that final goodbye is going to be scary.
It's rough.
Absolutely,
it's rough.
But at the same time, like you said, you're rooting for them to launch. You want them to go find their own life.
And everybody says that. Everybody says, "Well, this is what this is what you worked for, so they could go out in the world." And you're like, "Yeah."
I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
When she got pregnant with him, I thought about baseball, and I thought about Easter, and I thought about Christmas, and I thought about Thanksgiving, and I thought about first grade. I did not think about him leaving.
Yeah.
So it really has been, and I hear parents, there's some parents you hear, they're like, I can't wait till they go to college. I didn't have that experience with my kid.
No.
You know, if he could live here till he was 40, I'd be fine with that.
That's what I keep telling him.
Like,
that's what I keep telling the younger
I gotta get a bigger house. You don't have to go anywhere. You won't even know I'm here.
Well, here's the advantage. The advantage is they are going to be poor and hungry for a long time.
Right.
So if you can have family vacations and you can lure them
back
food.
in with that. Yes, indeed.
That's the thing. But the point I really wanted to make, and you'll go through all of it, but when you mentioned your mortality, that is one thing. It became very clear to me that it is one of the events that you're not bigger than. Right? Yeah. Like you're strong and you muddle your way through life, and there's a lot of things where you can stand up tall and be like, I know how to handle this. I can get through these things, whatever. I'm strong.
Yeah.
You build yourself up to where you're strong. And there are certain moments in life that hit you.
Just beat you to
deaths, big goodbyes, that are just bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
I agree. Those are great words, man.
Yeah.
Those are great words. Yeah.
So if you want to come over on your way
Bro,
home.
I'm going to have to hide. I'm going to have to hide from my wife when he leaves for a little while.
Oh, well, you know what was so funny is
Actually, truth be told, I think she's handling it better than I am.
Well, because she lets it out,
Well,
probably.
she's smarter, stronger, more emotionally evolved. There's those things.
Yeah, there's all those things. When my wife caught me crying in the bed like 2 days before we were leaving, when it was really obvious it was all happening.
Sure.
So we're going to bed, and she catches me crying in bed. The joy that she had just seeing me cry,
Just knowing that you were dying,
knowing that I was actually a human being and emotional, and
that reads through you. Nobody doesn't think that.
But the joy,
wife,
Billy,
I get it. No, I get it.
And then I stopped crying,
wife.
and then I'm like, I'm not crying anymore. It was worse having her be like, "Are you crying?"
Yeah.
And then she wanted me to do it more. I think she'd be like, "Look at this picture when you guys
Just
were little."
being merciless with it. Here's a keychain he made for you in 3rd grade. How's that feel?
Oh, so brutal. So brutal.
Yeah, man.
Well, you're good. It's going to be, it's such a cool thing, though.
I'm excited.
I was excited to be at his graduation. I was there.
Yeah, they got to do their walk this year, which is great.
So
Look,
nice.
Everybody suffers, but I did feel bad for the kids with their school stuff. And the thing we talked about all year was acceptance. Mm-hmm. I just said, look, in this life, you're going to have to push through something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's work or with a relationship or whatever. Mm-hmm. And now you know how to do it.
Yeah.
I said, so, but while he had a couple bad days during it, but I just kept saying, look, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be down, but you have to accept the situation.
Right.
Because if you can accept it, then you're only fighting the problem. You're not fighting yourself and the problem.
Yeah.
And he kind of turned the corner on that, and he was all right
That's
the rest
great.
of the way. But to see them walk was great. My kid is very much my kid.
Very cool.
He graduated with honors and didn't know it until he got there. Like they handed him the cords, and he was like, "What are these for?" And they're like, "You got the grade average, whatever that was."
With distinction.
And when they said, and then when they said it was distinction, me and Patty were like, "He got distinction? All right, well," so it was awesome.
It's so great. It really makes me very happy when my daughter, just like a week ago, I think it was literally after graduation, and it's literally like almost midnight, and she's like, "Will's coming. We're going for ice cream." I'm like, what?
So
She's going for ice cream. I'm like, I didn't know Will smoked weed. She's like, we're going for ice cream. Yeah, right.
How much weed were you
just
smoking?
Driving around the neighborhood.
No, I think it's good, and I like that he hangs out with good kids. That's one thing I can say I taught him. Because when he went to Campbell Hall, which is a affluent school, it's private, and I just said, when you go over there, don't make any friends. This was like 7th grade. I said, don't make any friends for 2 months. I said, watch how everybody acts. Pick the kids that have the qualities you're looking for.
Wow.
Because you are what you surround yourself with.
And he listened to you?
He did. He has an incredible group of friends.
Wow, that's great.
I can't find the dirtbag. I can't find the me and his friends.
You don't find a guy with a
and
rock
I'm always
in his
looking.
pocket.
I'm like, where's that kid? I know. And they're like, what's wrong with you, old man?
Someone has a rock in their pocket.
I'm getting good grades. The debit card works. We're going to the beach, man. Be cool,
Oh, it's so great. Well, man, I have to say, you go through this little comedy run, and it's really great that you've entered my life. And
dude, I love you
pals.
to death. We love your family, and like I said, my son just thinks you guys are the papas are the coolest.
The coolest. We'll have to get everyone together all at once.
Man.
That would be fun.
We're all ready for that, man. We're ready and vaccinated, and we're ready to face the world again.
Now, all you have to do is give me an honest review of this bread after you get home. Now, you can...
can I text you with that?
You can text me with that?
I'm going to give you the review as if a sommelier drank wine. I will give you the review on this bread. You have my word.
That'll be awesome.
You have my word.
And it just came out today, so
perfect. It'll
you can
be
have
done
it tonight, or tomorrow toast is going to be...
That's not going to go till tomorrow.
It won't happen.
No, a good chunk of that's going away as soon as I get to the parking lot.
You're the best. Thanks, Billy.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. That was the great Billy Gardell. Thank you so much. And thank our sponsor, Greensmith Farms CBD, for supporting this podcast. Greensmith Farms makes the best all-natural craft hemp CBD products, including CBD oil and CBD gummies. Have you wanted to try CBD? but you don't know where to start, and you might be, and what you're buying, Greensmith Farms is the perfect place to try CBD for yourself. And I fall into that category. I know all about weed, wine, bread, CBD. Didn't really know that much. And the good people at Greensmith CBD oils and edibles sent some to my house. And I figure, well, I'm not about getting high. I'm just going to relax and get some CBD, and took their edibles. And I have to say, in a stress-filled day, this was just a nice, calm feeling. And I really understood for the first time why this is so good. And I can only imagine that the people at Greensmith are doing it right, because I just felt like this is a nice thing that you can add to your day, add to your life, and just have a great experience without all the stress of your daily life. The lab certifications for all their products are posted on their website, and even linked to every label's QR code. It just makes you feel a little more mellow, a little more happy, without doing anything to your brain where you can't function and do your work and take care of your family. Many people have reported that Greensmith CBD products have helped them focus, relax, and get better sleep. That sounds like a good one. I don't know if they're strong enough to allow me to get sleep with the person I sleep next to. But maybe, maybe. The company was founded by veterans to provide the world's best CBD products at an incredible price. Their products are all natural, blended with healthy botanical oils, and taste great, and your satisfaction is guaranteed. For listeners, you can get 20% off your order with the code PAPA at checkout. Go to greensmithfarmshemp.com and enter PAPA, P-A-P-A, for 20% off of your order. That's greensmithfarmshemp.com, code PAPA, 20% at checkout. All right, that is wonderful. We would like to thank those people. Our other good people, good friends that we'd like to thank are the good people at Wild Alaskan Company. Such a cool thing. You know, during the pandemic, I started ordering different types of things that I could put in this giant freezer of mine that I could always have on hand. And the people at Wild Alaskan Company sent me a box of their fish. So good, so fresh, so amazing. Look, we all love making great meals, and we all love trying to create things that are stellar within your week, that are easy but also healthy. The people at Wild Alaskan, it was basically someone who had some tech background and some knowledge of how to pull this off and get it to you the right way, with also a family lineage in the fish industry in Alaska. We all know you should be eating more fish to get more omega-3s and protein, but the seafood counter can be intimidating. Which fish tastes the best? What type of cut? Can you really be sure about the quality? Wild Alaskan Company takes the guesswork out of buying wild-caught seafood. If you love to order fish when you go out to eat, but you never make it for yourself, it's so easy. They come individually wrapped, the perfect size portion. You come, you just slice it open, you put it in a little cookware, you put a little olive oil, maybe a little butter, a little rosemary, maybe some dill, salt, pepper, and you have an amazing meal. Wild Alaskan Company delivers high-quality, sustainably sourced wild-caught seafood right to your door. Each shipment contains premium wild-caught, individually wrapped portions of delicious seafood ready to prepare. Wild Alaskan Company seafood is how nature intended it to be, always wild, never farmed or modified. You can adjust, pause, or cancel your membership at any time, and they offer 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Right now, you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/papa. That's wildalaskancompany.com/papa, P-A-P-A, for $15 off your first box. Do it. You're going to be so happy. wildalaskancompany.com/papa. Make sure to use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Thank you for sponsoring today's program. And now it's time for a quick bite with Rory Scovel. Rory has a new special that is available on YouTube. We'll get into it when we talk to him. He is such a funny, such a creative comedian. And now on YouTube, his special is called Live Without Fear. And it should still be available on YouTube. It's Live Without Fear. No, it is Live Without Fear. It is Live Without Fear. And it is available right now. Let's grab a quick bite with Rory. He'll tell us all about it. One of my favorite comedians of all time, the great Rory Scovel.
Rory.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly right.
Where are you?
And I'm in my car outside my house, just getting away from my family. I got a coffee mug filled with water.
Beautiful. I was thinking about you for two reasons. One was your new special, and I'm going to plug it right now, that's streaming on the YouTube, and Live Without Fear or Live Without Fear.
Yep.
It's really up to you. But then the other one, and we'll come back to that in a second, but I was driving by your house the other day because there's a guy not far from you who fixes old typewriters out of his house. and I had to drive him.
So much away about your favorite thing. I collect and fix up vintage typewriters.
Well, I started using typewriters because I like sending notes to people, but my handwriting is so bad that they can't read it. And I feel like if you type it, then people think, well, you cared enough to slow down. It's not as impersonal as just knocking it out on your laptop.
Do people go the other direction, though, and think it's psychotic? Does anyone ever think that?
Yes. Anyone I tell, anyone like right now, when I tell them what I'm up to, that's usually the response.
Yeah. I'm just going to get a new spool of ink for my typewriter.
Well, I'm listening to my record collection.
I was about to say, that's how you go, how do I one-up all these kids getting into vinyl? I know.
I can't believe when I use it, it's so much work, and you have to be so precise. I can't believe that the world was run on these things. Like mortgages and law documents and books. It's insane.
Yes.
Don't understand it.
I had an old typewriter, and I tried to, in high school, I had this fantasy that I was going to write a movie, and I wrote 3 pages and was like, fuck this. My career because of this typewriter.
When I type on it and then I go to the laptop, I can't believe. I'm like, you know what? You could say a lot of things about mankind, but they really nailed it with this improvement.
Yeah, the evolution of that was a leap.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that, like now, like I would have to ask you to do something, I would have had to type it out on my computer, put it in an envelope, waited for your response.
Yes. And I also have to mail back to you.
Right.
So the quick thing that you wanted was at least 6 days till you got my answer.
And people, I'm sure, were coming into the bar even then going, phew, it has been crazy lately.
Yeah. I've got carpal tunnel out the ass. Not where you're supposed to get it.
I just want to slow down to the days of the abacus.
Imagine, like, when someone emails me now with a timely, when they need a timely response and it's even somewhat business related, I become so angry. I could not imagine getting a note that I have to go to the typewriter to reply and then put it in the I would not talk to anybody. I just have no connection to anyone.
We would have been next to each other going into the coal mine.
If you don't live in my town, then I just don't talk to you.
You expect me to buy a stamp?
I can't get a stamp. stamp? Not these days. You have to go to the post office on a horse. No
way. Oh my God. Well, it was. I'm going to send you a picture of the typewriter. It's hilarious, and the guy that's into it is so into it. Like he
lives in my neighborhood.
He lives near you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should get a typewriter just so you can go visit him. Or maybe next time when something breaks, I'll pick you up on the way over.
Yes, pick me up. I want to go see what he's doing, and I want to see how he fixes it.
Oh, it's pretty crazy. He's really, when he dies, there's never going to be another typewriter fixed.
He's the last. Yeah, he is the last unicorn.
Hey, congratulations on the special. I started watching it. It's so funny. I'm so excited because not the best thing that you do, but one of the great things that you do is improvise in your stand-up, and you're always very fearless, and you always combine. When I've worked with you, you've always combined your written stuff and but then you wanted to always play around and do other stuff, and you always did the combination of it. Yeah. And that you leaned in and did all of that for this special is such a brilliant idea.
I thank you, and thank you for checking it out. The thing I loved most was discovering in doing these 6 shows that I firmly believe a lot of comedians who are naturally presentationally funny, because we all know people who are great writers, and they do fine on stage, but they might not be as vulnerable or open. But comedians who actually have a big performance, I think are capable of doing this, and would also maybe discover a lot of interesting elements about their stand-up. Like, for instance, I decided to leave the mic in the mic stand for at least the first 10 minutes so that I couldn't pace around. And I had to stand still, and I had to think while standing still. And I realized, there was so much discovery in just doing something like that, but doing that in a situation where I had no prepared material. I really think there's a lot of comedians that would enjoy this style of performance.
Yeah, it's amazing, first of all, that I started just leaving it in the mic stand for another reason, to see if the material that I wrote was strong enough without me pacing around and mugging it up.
Right. Yes.
And I'm still doing it now, which is crazy, because in the beginning I was so running around. I was like, am I just fooling them, or is there something?
Right.
Is there something funny here? But I could see doing it. But there's also the other part of it is, when they ask you to go on a TV show, or they ask you to go do a theater like a corporate event or something like that, I always feel like now it's time that I have to break out. Like, if I were to just go up and improvise, I'd be so terrified.
Yeah.
If people were paying me.
Right. Yeah. Well, at those shows, I kept the ticket sales very low, because I was under the impression I was just going to bomb 6 straight times. But I didn't, and there was one show out of 6 that was the weakest of the. I mean, one of the shows obviously has to be the weakest, no matter what. But
sure,
there was one that was it was the weakest, and I talked to a guy who came to all 6 shows, and I asked him, I was like, if you didn't come to any of their shows and you only came to Tuesday, was that a bad show? And he was like, no, it was a fine show. And I was like, yeah, I think I only.
Yeah.
I think the only, just because I know how fun the other shows were, that I look at that show differently, when really it was also just an okay show. But Tom, you're so naturally funny. I think if you went up and just was like, 20 minutes, I'm just gonna talk and see what comes out, I think you'd be so shocked at what comes out,
I would love to. It really is inspiring. Because last night I was at the Comedy Store, and it was really fun, but I hadn't really thought about it or worked on anything from the night before. I was busy and didn't get to really think about the set. So it was like, well, just to go up and repeat what I did last night, there's some value to that, because there is a lot of new things, and but it would be so much better if I just kind of went for it. And, I didn't think that actually until I watched your thing and are talking to you now. I just went back up and spit it back out and was proud of myself that I got one line. But man, why not? You know what I mean? Like, we're at the Comedy Store. It's not like there's no consequence.
There's no consequence. That's what I liked about booking it in that theater and going up, knowing that the crowd knew the conditions of the show. So my next iteration is I want to do it and not advertise that I'm doing it, so I don't have the safety net of the crowd giving me any sort of leeway, and just let them not know is this made up, and just kind of I'm the only one that knows that that's what I've gone up to
right.
But to your point, like, there are so many shows that you do in a year where truly, if you went up and were doing 20 minutes, at the at Hot Tub or something, the most random show, I think you'd honestly walk away going, oh my God, I have 3 new solid concepts that only appeared to me because my back was against the wall and I didn't know what to talk about, and they just nowhere. I mean, I did a show where we started talking about the Eskimo pie desserts, and I started doing a bit on if none of us know if that's an offensive or a derogatory term. And then I was also talking about how none of us really, like, we were even like, what even is an Eskimo pie? Like, what is that actual?
Yeah.
And I told someone, I was like, there's no coffee shop I would sit in and my brain would never go to that topic.
Right.
And you'd never go to it because it's so abstract, but realistically, those abstract things are just as, relatable as talk about the stuff that we do talk about,
Oh, that's so great. That really, you've definitely inspired me. I'm going to try it, and then if I bomb more than 2 nights in a row, I'm going to come to your house with a typewriter and beat you.
This is how I'm trying to tank your career now. And this is a long con that I've been setting up for a while.
It's so funny. All right, before I let you go, what have you eaten? Did you eat anything fun today?
Oh, what did I eat today? You know what? I've started to eat yogurt with granola and dates and cashews and coconut shavings in a bowl. And while no part of me thinks that it's fun, I've discovered that at 40 it's very delicious and way healthier than what I think is fun.
That sounds delicious because I'm over 42.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the day, and then you feel like, I did something that, is healthy but also did taste good because there's so many flavors in it.
Oh, that's so great. Well, hopefully, if my typewriter doesn't break, I'll just drive Brett to your house again because we haven't seen each other.
Now you can come inside the house.
Yeah, that's right. Last time we were sitting out front. That would be so great.
Coffee on the porch.
All right, that sounds wonderful.
Tom, I love you. You stay safe out there.
Love you too, Rory. I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, that's our big show. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you give us nice stars and tell us how great we are. I'd like to thank our producer, Aaron, in the back for helping get these podcasts out in the greatest way. He's always yelling at me when I record things wrong. So thank you, Aaron, and thank everybody at All Things Comedy. Thank you to Wild Alaskan Company. Thank you also to our good friends at Greensmith Farms, hemp.com, Greensmith Farms CBD. You guys are awesome. Rory Scovel, Billy Gardell, another great episode. We thank you so much. Send me all your hot dog tips and more next time. See you soon.